It's free, it's open source, anybody in here can use it. You can use it commercially, not commercially, whatever. It's a tool that I created that helps analyze digital assets. So hopefully will prevent at least some people who might use it or use other similar tools from losing their shirt on ICOs. So this is my background. I used to be with Morgan Stanley. I founded a firm 20 years ago. I've been involved in blockchain for 5 years, ran the Bitcoin Foundation, and I'm on the board of Medici Ventures. I run a company called Chainstone Labs, and I founded Atlantic Financial, which was the first full-service investment firm on the internet back in 1994. Anyway, we know what a blockchain is. Clearly, the transfer of something of value is a killer app for blockchain, which is why we have so much hype around tokens. So here's the tool. Basically, it's an acronym. Spacesuit X stands for 10 things that you should look for when you're analyzing an ICO or any digital asset. Could be Bitcoin, could be Ethereum. And I'm going to run through these really quickly, what some of the factors are with each area that you look at. And we have a tool online. Again, this is free. You're welcome to use it. You can put it on your own website. If you're a hedge fund, you can use it in your commercial documents, whatever you want. This is totally open source and free for anybody to use. These 10 letters correspond on the website. There's a little tool where it's 10% each. So you can rate these things. You can say, okay, I rate Bitcoin security a 9. I rate Bitcoin participation a 10. Whatever, and you go down the list and you can have a score. So any analyst can take this and say, okay, I only want things that I score 70 or above, or security of 8 or above, or whatever your own criteria is. And you can make your own definitions for each of these terms. And it will be subjective, but at least it's something where people are on somewhat the same page. You may disagree about what security means or what participation means, and everybody will have different views for different projects, but you can define those things, especially if you're an analyst. You can define them in a somewhat organized manner, and it might help cut through some of the hype. So that's what I just explained. So security. So first thing we want to look at is how secure is this blockchain? How secure is the smart contract? What is it running on? Most tokens these days are ERC-20 tokens running on Ethereum. A lot of people who are buying tokens aren't even aware of where the token is issued, how it's issued, what it is, what it's working on, what is the blockchain, how secure is the smart contract, has it been audited, all of these kind of things, very important. Participation, who is the, what are you getting for this? This is the basic fundamental question that people should be asking. What are you getting for these tokens? With most of these tokens, you're getting nothing, and you will lose all your money because you don't have anything other than a token that doesn't represent anything. So you want to know, what exactly are you getting? Are you getting a token where the goal is to sell it later for more? Because that is a completely and totally unsustainable model that will absolutely fail, absolutely result in ruin. It's never in the history of anything have you had a sustainable period where something that has no ties to anything of any value has had value in itself. So you want to say, what is it tied to? Is it tied to future earnings? Is it, is it a security? Is it an illegal security? If it's a token, what's it for? Is it usable? Is it not usable? Is it an API key? Am I donating money to a nonprofit foundation that I'll never see again? These are definitely things that you want to look at. What exactly are you getting for the token? A is accounting and legal. How do they account for units of this? Is it centralized or decentralized? What is the legal status? Is it legal or illegal in your jurisdiction? What about other major jurisdictions? Is it something that's going to be legal to trade? Are you going to have liquidity? What are the risks? Are the founders of the project going to get in significant legal trouble? Is it going to be banned by exchanges in a certain country? Community management and team, that's important. Who's building this? Who's involved? Do they have a GitHub? Are developers involved? Are people contributing? What is the overall community like? Are there lots and lots of brand ambassadors? Are there people using this? Are there people active? Do they have meetups? Earnings. This is, again, super basic in the real world, but it's sometimes forgotten in the world of tokens. How is this project going to make money? Even the most hyped basic business plans of the dot-com era at least had a plan. They all said the same thing. This is a $10 billion market and we're going to capture 10%. But at least they had a goal. With a lot of ICOs, they don't really have even a hope or dream of having any kind of earnings that's attached to any sort of token. So as the old saying goes, if you don't have a plan to where you're going, you just might get there. And that could happen. So you want to see what are the earnings? Will this project earn anything? Can it justify the valuation? If you have a token that's worth $100 million, where do you base that valuation from? Is it just because you think it's worth it because other tokens are worth it, or because you think it's going to be worth 200? Again, those are not sustainable models for valuation. You want to say a thesis, and it could be something like, I think Ethereum is going to be broadly used by a lot of institutions and tokens are going to continue to grow. Okay, so that's a thesis of why you would think that there's some value behind Ethereum or Bitcoin or any token. Now, if you have a token that, for example, is a security and they have a classic business plan that says, here's where we are, here's our revenue, here's our goal, that's pretty easy to, that's pretty easy to quantify. Some of the other ones, when you get into these complex usability tokens, which really are not designed for you as an investor, they're designed for the founders to raise more money faster by having a kind of gray area of legality and avoiding securities laws. So that doesn't help investors. It's something that you should be aware of. This is a really important one, supply and demand. Is there demand for this coin? Will there continue to be demand of this coin? What is the supply? And how does the supply work? Is it a fixed supply? Is it limited supply? Is there some central person that can just issue more of these and devalue your currency the way Janet Yellen can? That's probably a big disadvantage depending on your own philosophy about what you think has value. Personally, I think that scarcity is a key component of anything with any value. So the supply is really important. One of the big strengths of Bitcoin is the 21 million coin limit. A token can certainly have the same sort of limited supply, but you should be aware, how many tokens are issued, under what issuance mechanism, and who or how can more be issued, if ever, because that can devalue your currency. Also, if tokens are continually issued on an ongoing basis, you want to do the math and say, okay, if this many new tokens are coming in at X price and the overall market cap is at this price, how do we account for how much new money needs to flow in to maintain the price? Usability. What is this token going to be used for? I mean, is this a fuel, rail, mechanism, share of a security? Is it an API key? What are you actually getting? There's a lot of really, really good things that you can get from tokens. And by the way, I mean, I hope none of this comes off as sort of criticizing. I'm just looking at things that should be looked for. There's clearly projects that don't meet any of these criteria, but overall, I'm very, very, very bullish on tokens. Have been since long before it was super popular. My company's been working in tokens for 3 years now, particularly focused on securities tokens, and even more narrowly within that with asset management. Also, as I mentioned, I'm on the board of Medici Ventures, which is part of Overstock, which owns T0, which is the only blockchain company that is a fully licensed actual exchange in the United States. There's a few broker-dealers. My company used to be a broker-dealer. We're a registered investment advisor, but there's no actual exchanges that I know of, ATS exchanges licensed with the SEC. So I'm very, very interested in this area through a lot of things. I've invested in a few different projects in this and really focused on this. So hopefully nothing I say comes off as pessimistic about tokens. Tokens are going to dominate the world, in my opinion, and be trillions and trillions of dollars. There's going to be tens of thousands of tokens, I think. It will not only change all of the way that securities in the world are, I think they'll all become tokenized. There's going to be a whole new market for new securities. The small restaurants out in town will be able to issue their own tokens to their own customers, and it'll be much easier for people to share equity. The reason you don't own 5% of your local sandwich shop is because it's a big pain. You'd need lawyers, and it's just a hassle. But if your sandwich shop could sell you a token, just put a little QR code and say, hey, I'm doing a crowd sale. I'm raising 100,000 pounds for to expand my store, and you like that store, maybe you buy a little bit, and maybe your friend does, and maybe their family does. And then you have some liquidity. Maybe the owner wants to buy it back or does a sale or accepts those tokens for sandwiches or any number of different things that will work much easier with this kind of technology. So I think you're going to have it very, very broad, and it's very exciting. Institutional industry backing. You know, who in the industry is behind this? Is it the who's who people? What are the really sharp developers? What are the people who've been in this space a long time think about the project? Are there any institutions involved? That could be a good sign if there are large institutions involved. Technical, again, another thing that's often overlooked. What are the technical details of a project? How does it actually work? Most tokens, we're here because blockchain, it's really funny because we have this blockchain hype. A lot of people say, you know, blockchain is a big deal, it's going to take over the world, and I agree. And then they invest in ICOs. They really don't have anything to do with blockchain other than using it as a mechanism to get people who haven't done a lot of research to invest money. They're really not even blockchain projects. They're just projects that couldn't raise money from other sources, so they're using, they're using this jumping on this kind of bandwagon. So you want to really look at the technicals. What is unique about this? Is it a very weak business plan that simply is using a token to raise money, or is there some actual tech behind it? Is it its own blockchain? Is it doing something in this space? Now, nothing wrong with not being a blockchain, like the sandwich shop I just mentioned. Just be aware of that. Don't be doing 100x valuation of projected earnings on a business that's not not a blockchain business, if that's what you're trying to do is participate in this space. The last one in Spacesuit X is X Factor. So this, I made it since, I tried to make this tool simple. I'm hoping that it's something that people will use. I didn't want to make it too complex, but I tried to cover the main things in these 10 bullet points. But X Factor is just in case there's something that I missed or something that you think is important that isn't on there. So between those 10, let me just go back real quick so you have them all. Yeah, so between these 10, security, participation, accounting and legal, community, earnings, supply and demand, usability, industry and institutional backing, technical, and X Factor. On our website, spacesuitx.org, you have all of these. You can plug it in, say, I rated 9, 10, whatever. You can change the numbers around. You can put in whatever you want for your X Factor, and very simply and easily have something that hopefully you're at least on the same page with people on your team or others. And you could, what I'd love to see is people to use this and then debate and say, oh, wait a minute, I rate this security at 8, you rate it 7, let's discuss why. That would be great, and that's why we made it open source, because I'm hoping that people will use it, and with any open source project, it requires participation. This is a gift to the community. This is not a profit venture. It's for anybody to use for any purpose they want. As I said, you can put it in your commercial documents. You can say, we use this for our hedge fund or whatever, your own analysts. I definitely encourage you to check out the website, maybe make a sample report. We'd love to see that. So it's Creative Commons, as I said, open source. Here's my information. My name's Bruce Fenton, Atlantic Financial Chainstone Labs. And I'm going to finish early so that we get ahead of the schedule. That's the basics. Hope you use it, hope you like it, hope you find some use in it, and hopefully it'll save some people from losing their shirt on bad ideas. Thank you.